he stuffed him. Formation in the Apple Cup takes a knee. The clock will do the rest.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another live edition of the Cougs on the Couch podcast brought to you by CougFan. Make sure to check out CougFan.com. Subscribe to their premium membership for all things Cougar Athletics. This is where we get a ton of our information, and they're our go-to for all things WSU athletics. If you're an athlete, you need to recover properly. Check out Black Label Supplements. They're a third-party tested, athlete-approved supplement company here in the Pacific Northwest. Use code CouchGM for 15% off your order. And if you're not already subscribed to the 1890 Club, what are you doing? Go subscribe to the 1890 Club, the Cougar Collective. Help keep the players in Pullman. And some teasing a few episodes that Dylan and I have recorded with current players and coaches at Washington State University for you WSU fans. We got interviews with Christian Hilborn, offensive lineman, coming soon. We've got Colson Bruner, who is the long snapper this coming season. Interesting interview with him. Also got defensive line transfer from SMU, Mike Sanjo Njiki. Super interesting conversation with him. And then a newly recorded episode with Donnell Kirkwood Jr., who is the new running back coach. It's going to be a big change in offense for Washington State this coming season. So it's super interesting to hear some of the insights in that running back room. And then news this week, Texas State is officially in the Pac-12. I guess, guys, initially, any thoughts on the news this week before I start pulling up the new information?
I just have to say one thing. Initially, maybe 6 months ago, 12 months ago, Texas State, it didn't really move the needle for a lot of people. But since the reactions I've seen from their fan base on Twitter, Essential, I mean, man, they're out of the woodwork. It seems like there's Texas State fans everywhere. It's exciting to see that they're excited. Obviously, going from the Sun Belt to the Pac-12. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this fan base does. And reportedly, they hate Fresno State already. That's kind of the moniker on Twitter. That's what they're going for. So
good on them.
Cool with me.
I'm in swinging. Why not?
Fresno State catching some strays, but
yeah, no shortage of enthusiasm in Texas. So I think after last week with Kef, I don't know if you guys saw your Twitter mentions, but just random Texas State people just chiming in. I don't even know what about, but they were having a good time. So I'm glad that we were able to provide so much joy for them. It was a good time.
And one small tidbit, it looks like it's pronounced San Marcos, but it's pronounced San Marcos.
Ma'am, San Marcos. Yes, that was one thing that I took
Marcos.
away. I noticed Kef was saying that, and I was like, I'll remember that.
So when you're making your trip out to San Marcos, make sure to keep that in mind.
Just like everybody in Idaho will tell you, it's Boise. Boise. Right. Boise. There's no Z in Boise.
And it's Moscow, Idaho.
Yeah.
So
speaking,
what
are we going to get into cold core?
All right. So speaking of,
stick to sports, Dylan.
we got a tweet here from Michael Adams, who states that he's hearing that the Pac-12 media share figures with the new CBS deal. He's unable to verify it yet, but if accurate, Texas State is set to get more than 7x what it got from the Sun Belt. Interestingly, it's also slightly more than what the AAC share is. Any takeaways from that? Texas State getting a big pay raise.
Texas State, or takeaway, is purportedly this man is hearing 7 times $2 million, $14 million range in your annual payout. This is particularly interesting because we just got news on the CBS deal that there is this $10 million figure. And privately in our group chat, what we have been trying to decipher is that 10 million per school or 10 million annually for the conference? Both, in my opinion, seem pretty absurd. One in the, wow, that is much higher than the predictions that we were hearing. And the other being, wow, that's pretty dang low. How on earth are they going to get that up to, it would have to be like 80 million annually for the conference, 80, 90 million annually to hit that prediction mark of 7 to 10 million per school, and figures kind of don't make sense to me, and I'm just sort of scrambling. Like, I don't know what to think of this, because if it is 10 million per school, massive win, I would think, for the Pac-12. We have been constantly told when we started this thing, it was 15 to 7 million, and 15 always seemed incredibly optimistic. And then that got revised to 10 to 7. And then that got revised to 10 to 7, but probably closer to 7. And now we're here, and potentially, if the internet is interpreting this correctly, which we have not had verified yet, I think that's sort of important to note, that if it's 10 million per school for the what is, I think, being coined as like the A package for the Pac-12 media rights deal, that's huge. You could potentially be talking on adding, with the 3 extra packages. I don't know what that valuation would be, but that could okay. Yeah, we have, and here we have a graphic of a guy putting random numbers, not random, his prediction, I should say. I'm not gonna smear Will M. Betts's prediction, but these are predictions nonetheless. And I mean, even things on here don't really quite make sense to me. But all it is to say is we could be in line for a media deal that overperformed expectations, which would obviously be massive for the Pac-12. Now, that being said, again, I don't know how to interpret the reporting from the Sports Business Journal, and I know people want to run with the side of it that says we got the most, we got the better end of the deal, but I'm not sure if that's actually the case.
So my interpretation is there's a couple different segments I've thought about. First segment, I guess I'll start with the Big East basketball media deal that they got last year or in 2023. Each each Big East school is making $7 million per season. And this is just basketball only, right?
Yeah, well,
strictly basketball. Pac-12 is offering football on top of what's expected to be the 5th best basketball conference, according to Net, over the last 5 to 6 years. So you're telling me that's got to be the floor. I mean, that's the basement, in my opinion.
Sure.
I mean, you've got football and basketball here. So that's how I just keep going back to the Big East media deal. They're making $7 million per year. It just, and especially with some of the reporting Canzano's made, where it's like, okay, there could be this possibility of, TNT and these side packages getting basketball games, and all of a sudden you have the Big East starting your doubleheader. You got a Big East matchup, UConn, Marquette, and then it takes you right into SDSU and Gonzaga. So it seems like there could be a partnership there in terms of viewership. Now, the other thing I go back to is the Pac-12 has been pretty stone cold silent for the last 12 to 16 months in terms of impertinent information. They have done a very good job at keeping important info in-house in terms of Canzano, Wilner. They kind of have been on it, but the Pac-12 has been 2 steps ahead of everybody else. So maybe that they were planning, hey, let's send out these feelers like, oh yeah, it's going to be 7 to 8 million, 7 to 9 million. So when that bigger number comes out, and it may be 14 million plus whatever, all of a sudden it's like, wow, we didn't even think we're going to get here. So maybe this is a PR strategy too from the Pac-12. Who knows?
It's a theory. I just think that like those 2 guys, Wilner and Canzano, have been so on it. And I would push back that the Pac-12 has been 2 steps ahead. I mean, they had been on Texas State for months now, saying that this is the school that makes the most sense, and everyone has been pitching in their opinion of who they want, and lo and behold, it was Texas State. I really trust those guys. They have done the best reporting on West Coast football and the Pac-12 for many years now. So in their reporting, they agree with you that the floor is 7 million. And that's what makes the CBS reporting from the Sports Business Journal peculiar to me because if you split either way, you split it, whether it's 10 million annually for the conference or 10 million annually per school, those two numbers both put you out pretty far away from the $7 to $10 million value or prediction for the full package. Again, the CBS deal is just one part of it. So, again, if it were 10 million annually, we're talking about like 1 point something million per school. And then you're having to add another 70 to $80 million between the other three packages. That feels crazy too. Like how on earth are you going to do that? So I don't know. And I need to wait and see. I need more reporting, more clarity on this before I really formulate an opinion, but both numbers feel strange to me.
So I'm just kind of thinking through this and looking at this right here. Okay, Texas State's getting 7x more. They got 2 million before, that puts them at 14. You have this information coming out that it's an opinion, of course, but this is just a football media deal. This is not any other sports, and they're predicting just under 12 million per school per year. If you were to, and recently Canzano was on the Puck show, and he stated that basically sports revenue, 75 to 80% of college sports revenue comes from football. And so what I did was like, okay, what if 70 to 80% of the media deal is right here in the football only package, which is the 12 million. If you go the rest of the 25%, that gets you up to about 15 million per year per school, all in all sports, which is close to the 7 times 2, which is Texas State's 14 that we're assuming. So
could be
in the 14, $15 million range. If you look at what, this is all speculation, but if you think that Canzano and all of these reporters are in the know and are accurate on what they're reporting, then that could end up being kind of where the end figure is at, in the 14, 15 range.
It's important to note too that when they started these predictions, the prediction was starting in the 7 to 15. So that was their high point. So maybe, but like it's been months now where that has been revised down to like 7 to 10, but probably on the lower end. And I trust those guys. I do. So, not to say I don't trust the reporting of the Austin State Journal. I'm sorry. But, those guys have great reputations for a reason. And I respect their reporting. And I just don't know. It's fishy to me. And it could be a huge win for the Pac-12. It could be we're going to be cruising into around a $7 million annual payout for the schools as predicted. So I don't know.
Canzano did drop a new article about 5 minutes before we went live, and there's an interesting aspect talking to Commissioner Gold, and I'm quoting her, and it's essentially just around the basketball side of things. She says, when you walk in and talk with media rights partners, they're really, really excited about the basketball brands we have. When you think of the Gonzagas, the San Diego States, Colorado States, and what Utah State has done over the year, there's a lot of interest in basketball. So like, again, I'm just tying back to the Big East deal. I truly think, in my opinion, you're being more reserved, Jackson. Mm-hmm. I'm the fish that just jumped on the hook. Reel me in, baby. Reel me in.
Yeah. I mean, hey, again, as I said, like if all the reporting that I'm sort of relying on is correct, then you're also right. That floor was 7 million per school. That's what the Big East is getting. It's high end basketball. It's, Big East is good basketball. There's a lot of inventory for basketball. Obviously football makes the most revenue for, between football and basketball, but we're not media rights experts, and we just need to wait until we get the clarity on the information we have right now. Because last thing we want to do is be wildly wrong.
And Connor, before you get to your point, folks that are listening, comment. Tell us what you think. Do you think it's going to be closer to 15 million? Do you agree with us? Are you more reserved? Like, how are you guys feeling?
Yeah, or just your interpretation of it. Because, I mean, I feel like that's kind of like people are seeing this and everyone's just like, oh, I assumed this. I assumed that. Like, let us know what you've interpreted as.
It's like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia doing the strings on the wall, trying to figure out exactly what's going on.
Right. It's always been that way.
And then another little snippet from that Canzano drop this morning. Just at the end there, it states Memphis is listening, said a source. And from my understanding, Memphis, it's a $25 million buyout for both Memphis and Tulane. And so they're still like, and also we'll get into some of the information here, but if the Pac-12 were to help out with some of that fee, could you talk them into it?
Could that lend credence to that the CBS deal is 10 million per school? Because if the numbers that they were hearing were in the 7 to 10 million range, and it's like, I don't know if that financially makes sense for us for only a 5-year commitment. And now it's like, oh, maybe it actually is going to be 15. Maybe that completely changes the equation in Memphis's book. And now they're maybe more back at the table, possibly a theory, just spitballing over here, but could offer a thumbs up to the more favorable interpretation of the CBS deal.
So that being the case, let's get into the real information, the drop that came this week. And this is from Nevada Sportsnet. So Chris Murray wrote a great article. I linked it in the description of this video. Go check it out. Read the entire thing. I'm going to be showing various snippets. We're going to be talking through kind of our thoughts on everything. But Nevada Sportsnet obtained the Pac-12's grant of media rights and membership agreements Tuesday through a public record request with the Oregon State Athletic Department. And so there's a bunch of information here. There's a lot that's redacted currently because there are still talks in the works, so they can't be giving out information before it's official. But let's just kind of break it down, snippet by snippet. So first off, the grant of media rights extends through June 30th, 2031, making this a 5-year agreement rather than the previously expected 6-year. That will put the Pac-12 in the market for a new television deal 1 year before the Mountain West, whose grant of media rights runs through 2032. Next up, it's each of the Pac-12 schools handed their media rights to the conference through that same date. Although there are provisions to leave the league for a Power 4 conference, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, before then. And then lastly on this one, while the conference has the sole authority to negotiate media rights deals, those contracts must be approved by at least 3/4 of the league, with Oregon State and Washington State both voting in favor of the deal, giving them veto power. Any takeaways from these three bullet points?
Yeah, I have a takeaway, and I don't think it is what we've kind of already known, but I think this really shows that no one is actually that committed to the Pac-12. Like, we're as committed as you can,
unless we get a better offer.
Exactly. Everyone is just searching for the next best offer, and I have been of the opinion that while that sounds nice, and I certainly think everyone at WSU and Oregon State and all the other Pac-12 schools, those administrations are paid to act in the best interest of their universities. And so if there is an opportunity to somehow catapult their way into an A4 conference, then I understand that. However, I find it disappointing for me, sort of from a not realistic place, but I really do and have aspired for this conference to be something that these schools really want to be a part of and are here for the long haul, not sort of the 5 years and then we'll see. I really want to feel like we're bought in on the new Pac-12, and that's just not really the case. Like, we are all waiting for the possibility of another of that big time offer coming their way. And you can only help but just feel kind of like, the person who just wanted the prom date, but none of the girls really want to go with him, but he's still holding out hope. And it just feels sad to me. Like, let's just embrace what we have here. But as I just said, I understand that we're all acting in our own self-interest, and that's what we pay our administrations to do. But that was sort of my takeaway from it, if you will.
And kind of working off of that, jumping down the article a bit, here's a few more bullet points, and specifically talking about if a university wants to leave the conference early. So I guess the first one is a bit separate from that, but it's talking about hitting a minimum athletic department spending within a certain period of time by July 1st, 2026. But the second two bullet points, any school leaving for a Power 4 conference must give at least 1 year's notice and pay an exit fee equal to 2 times the Pac-12's average conference distribution. That A4 exit fee could be lowered based on when the exit takes place. But then the next one, a school can withdraw without penalty to join a Power 4 school upon the expiration of the grant of media rights. But if it joins a non-Power 4 conference upon that expiration, it would owe the Pac-12 3 times the average conference distribution with more than a year's notice and 6 times that fee with less than a year's notice. So basically the Pac-12 is like, if you want to leave the conference after this media deal, you can. But if you're going to somewhere lower, then you're going to pay for that. And like, we need to keep the image of the conference alive. So you cannot be going to a lower conference. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, and I think that is entirely designed with what I was just talking about in mind, is that all of these sort of higher echelon group of 6 teams trying to attract them, the Memphis, the Tulanes, all these schools who have aspirations of the A4, P4, whatever you want to call it, to keep that an option for everyone as almost a bargaining chip to come to the Pac-12. However, I also did think it was interesting, and I know Chris in the article, I think just for the sake of clarity, was using the term Power 4 quite frequently. However, I did go and look in the actual text, and it's interesting how it's worded because it's always almost rephrased to Pac-12 and the A4. And I do think at some degree the conference was conscious of not labeling themselves as a group of 6 with the language they use. However, they kind of did, So I mean, I hate to be the downer here, but as a conversation that happens a lot online of is it Power 5? Is it Power 4? What is it? I'll say this. In my heart, it's Power 1, baby. And that's just us. We're the only power conference in the country. Legally, though, I think it has been clearly defined by the conference themselves that we do fall in the group of 6, which is, not that big of a deal, actually, unless it comes to the dollars and cents. But when you really think about it, the Pac-12 gets to be labeled a Power 5 school when someone's trying to shake us down for money in terms of the house settlement. But anytime it's a revenue generator, now we're a group of 6. So not the most enviable position to be in if you're the Pac-12, but that is kind of how it's been. And it's pretty unfortunate that it has been that way, because I feel like you could make the argument, well, hey, if you guys are calling us Power 6, yet you want us to be on the hook for a Power 5 sort of share of the house settlement, screw you guys. We're a group of 6. We should be paying less. And I'm not exactly sure how the payout structure of that works, but I would presume that a group of 6 schools paying less in the house settlement than a Power 4 school is. So I don't know. If we're going to be called a group of 6 school, we should be at least paying a group of 6 rate for the house settlement.
Right.
Got a little off track there, but that was my 2 cents.
Dylan, any thoughts from you on the withdrawal? You're muted.
Everybody's saying, oh, why give Washington State and Oregon State all this power? Well, really, it's just so that these 5 Mountain West schools in Gonzaga don't come in here and have a hostile takeover of the conference right away, okay? These 2 schools fought for every inch of dollar amount, Pac-12 naming, keeping the whole conference together. Yeah, you know what? They're going to be the essential landlords of the conference for the first couple years. But yeah, I've got no problem with it. It's mostly Nevada fans, UNLV fans, Wyoming fans. Oh, the Mountain West Conference that's irritated with it. So
yeah. Well, and I also think piggybacking off of that, like while everyone is sort of in a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for WSU and Oregon State as sort of the sole proprietors of the Pac-12 to
wouldn't
keep
be
that
here without
control.
them.
I would expect that to end if the conference continues to exist after 2031. Like, I can't imagine all these schools are just going to sign up for the long haul for Washington State and Oregon State to essentially control the future of their conference as well. But so I guess, yeah, if you're a Coug or you're a Beav, it's a nice sort of reassurance to have while there's still uncertainty with realignment and the conference, despite the fact that we are now officially at the number we need to be a conference.
Now getting into the next bullet points here. So Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State agreed to join the Pac-12 September 11th. Utah State did so on September 23rd. Gonzaga did September 30th. The joining schools agreed to not facilitate or encourage any inquiries from conferences with the exception of the Power Four leagues. So that was an interesting tidbit I got. And then thirdly, the schools agreed to take all responsibility for all debts, obligations, and legal fees as the result of departing its previous conference. The Mountain West schools owe a roughly $18 million exit fee, but then a subhead under this section is redacted and seems to indicate that the Pac-12 will cover a portion of these fees. So the school is on the hook for the exit fees, but Pac-12 might be helping. That information is redacted, so we'll have to wait and see what comes out with that. But I thought it was interesting. The joining schools agreed to not facilitate or encourage any inquiries from conferences with the exception of the Power Four leagues. Yeah. So that kind of leads into the other bullet points to where it's like, hey, you can leave as long as you're moving up, but you can't move down. Otherwise, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, it's a kind of a funny bullet point to include because, like, how exactly is that enforced? Like, my interpretation of that is we don't want you fielding an offer from the Pac-12, turning to, you know, the ACC or I don't know what other. The interesting thing is, like, what other conference would be offering a competitive media rights payout other than the Pac-12, like the ACC? But like, what are they coming in to poach Mountain West schools? I don't think that's ever been really a conversation. So the interpretation was that they don't want them using a Pac-12 offer as leverage to get maybe a higher deal or a better deal from another conference. But again, how on earth do you enforce that? Like, kind of interesting. I think that's just sort of we want this in good faith, but like not particularly enforceable kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the enforcement part is those later bullet points that I already shared, to where it's like you're either paying 3 times or 6 times if you're moving to a lower conference. If you do move up, yeah, it's like the inquiries you can't turn into you actually leaving for a lower conference.
If you get to move up to the Power Four, everyone just shakes your hand and tips the cap and says, "Well
nice
done,
work.
to you,
We're
sir.
trying the same thing."
Yeah. You were the lucky one. Congratulations.
Now, moving to this next one, schools that earn revenue from appearances in the NCAA tournament and or college football playoff will get 50% of the net payment, with the rest being equally distributed among the league's other teams. This is a shift from most leagues' formulas that equally share that revenue. This section also includes heavy redactions, so stuff that's currently being in the works. Next, it appears as if Gonzaga will get a full revenue share despite not sponsoring football, although several sections of the Gonzaga provisions are redacted. And then any new members added to the league must get 2/3 approval, with Washington State and Oregon State both in favor. So thoughts on the whole NCAA tournament, college football playoff, 50%, and then the rest split, as well as Gonzaga?
That's my favorite part of the new Pac-12 is that piece of the 50% retention of the NCAA units you get in March Madness and college football playoff appearances. I think that could be the new that could be the new standard for group of 6 conferences, I feel like, because that changes so much for individual athletic departments in terms of how ambitious they can be in trying to take a risk to invest in that basketball team to get more money back with an NCAA tournament berth. or, getting to the college football playoffs, winning the Pac-12 and getting to the college football playoffs, that offers encouragement for investment in the sport. And I think it's awesome. And I definitely could see that as a blueprint for other conferences in the future when they have to renegotiate their grant of rights. So I love that piece right there.
And as far as Gonzaga, from your guys' perspective, being big basketball guys, like I said in the group text, it's like, I'm not a basketball guy, but I see Gonzaga deep in the tournament basically every year. So I see them as a super valuable on a national level basketball school. Are they more valuable as a basketball university than any other Pac-12 football program?
Yes,
or is it comparable?
I would say so. Yeah. I think Gonzaga is the biggest brand in the new Pac-12. And it's not a hot take or anything. I mean, it is basketball, and that is not as big of a revenue driver. But as far as their brand goes, that's huge for the Pac-12. And I think it's certainly Gonzaga basketball, and then your pick of, I would probably say Boise State football, but then close behind that, I would say is WSU and Oregon State football. And it's just in terms of national brand recognition. So having that is, I believe they're fully deserving of that full share. And that was a huge win, a heist, one might say, to get them in the Pac-12. So I have no issues with that.
It'll be interesting to see the actual revenue that Gonzaga brings in. Go for it.
You think Boise State's a bigger brand than WSU football and Oregon State football? I mean, especially
I think
with
regionally,
the blue turf.
Regionally in the Pacific Northwest, I think maybe no, but I think nationally, they just played in the college football playoff. They had a sensation running back that was making national headlines, and certainly WSU has had quarterbacks that have made national headlines. Their track record of success, 2006 Fiesta Bowl, I think it was 2006. I'm blanking on the year. Everyone knows the game I'm talking about, though.
Yeah,
that's something for you. I just think as far as national brands go, I think Boise State has an edge over everyone else. But as far as West Coast brand, I think that's where you can make an argument for Washington State and Oregon State.
I hate to agree with you on Gonzaga, but I do, unfortunately, just because of what they've put themselves. They're not missing an NCAA tournament. They're pretty much not missing a Sweet 16. Was it 8-9 straight Sweet 16s? Goodness.
Do we know the gross revenue that they've made their conference the past X amount of years?
Private university, that kind of stuff is tough to. I don't think so. So, but
it'll be interesting to track how much revenue they actually bring into the Pac-12 when they're going deep in the tournament like they have been.
Yeah. And I think having Gonzaga and stuff like that, those are pieces that helps you get a CBS deal, that helps you get broadcast games for basketball and football. I think, and not to say that, because obviously they don't have a football team, but I think that helps you get the deal across the finish line. So yeah, I think Gonzaga is a necessary part of the conference, and again, fully deserving because of their brand and because of what they bring to the table and the recognition for the conference. Yeah.
Connor, and going back to your point, what can we see from Gonzaga's revenue? Just speaking in terms of NCAA tournaments, units. Let's say they make the Sweet 16 this year. Just by making the NCAA tournament, there's $2 million. One for the Zags, one for the Pac-12. They win that first round game, there's $4 million. You make it to the Sweet 16, there's $6 million. They've made the Sweet 16 8 or 9 straight years. And if they continue to do that for the next 3 or 4 year stretch, let's say it's 4, that's $12 million, 6 going to the conference, 6 going to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's like, we're getting a full share and we're keeping half of our units. That's almost too good to be true.
Yeah, but and we're just talking about Boise State. You can't, they're not making the college football playoff every year, but in the first iteration of a 12-team playoffs, they made it. And certainly having them is massive when you're thinking of that one sort of group of 6 spot that you're accounting for. Boise State, Washington State, Oregon State. Yeah, maybe a Memphis or Tulane or a USF sneaks it, but that makes us highly competitive for getting one of those spots every year, as long as there still is as an automatic qualifier spot for a group of 6, So
And then from your perspectives, where is St. Mary's compared to Gonzaga?
significantly lower, but I think they're hovering around like a San Diego State for sure, which has a national brand, I think, as well. Like,
I got San Diego State above them.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying in the ballpark of a San Diego State, which is another a big basketball brand. And when we obviously talk about brands and the college basketball brands in the Pac-12, you start with Gonzaga, but below that is San Diego State, and then right in there would be St. Mary's as well, I think.
And that's a good segue to a couple. I believe we'll start this next week. Is we are going to break down the tiers, football wise and basketball wise, of the Pac-12. We'll start off with football. That should be next week, and then we'll get into basketball. I'm a little bit more excited about the basketball tiers because I think the football tiers are a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's
right in your face in terms of you know what the deal is. And finish your thought. It looked like you had a.
I completely blanked on what I was saying, but I did have a thought, and I will get back to that thought once it comes back to me.
and as Tech Mike V, he's been on the show listening last 3 or 4 weeks. We appreciate the SDSU side of things. Is I'm home base down here in their neck of the woods, but. One segue I want to make, I'm kind of jumping off topic here, but I wanted to get your guys' opinion. Who has a better shot at making the college football playoff this year, Oregon State or Boise State?
Oregon State or Boise? I would go Oregon State because of Malik Murphy. I think that's for me where I'm at. However, Boise State has had 2 losing seasons in their entire since I think they started playing Division I football in 96 or something like that. They're just a program that has continued to win and win and win, and obviously that's been at the group of 6 level for the entire time. So you have to take that into account when you're doing the Washington State Oregon State comparison to Boise State, that these two have been playing in the Power 5 for the entirety of their existence, or when that started to exist. And Boise State has not. So that factors into it. But the track record of success, it's you can never count out Boise State. They have the more contemporary history of success, I think. So, but yeah, I just think the question for at least next year, I think I'd give it to Oregon State.
I would the same. I think they're in a,
Go ahead, Connor. Sorry, I'm going to pull up the schedule.
I would say Oregon State as well. They're in a really great position. I mean, just looking at what they've done, they got the transfer from Duke, obviously, at quarterback. Boise State, obviously, Ashton Jeanty was their team last year. I mean, not to take away from their defense. Yeah, not to take away from their defense. Obviously, they played Washington State really well on the defensive side, but they just handed the ball to Jeanty, and he destroyed teams. And so with him gone, it'll be interesting. I mean, they had the quarterback to tight end type thing that they were running also, but without Jeanty, we'll have to see. Oregon State will be scary too.
Well, and you look at the schedule too. Oregon State's got the best schedule in the Pac-12.
Yep.
There's only 2 teams, but you start off at home versus Cal. Then you go home against Fresno State. And then you have back-to-back road games, Texas Tech, Oregon, and then you're home against Houston. So, I mean, legitimately, 4 of your first 5 games are against Power 4 opponents. Then you have at Appalachian State. You get the home game against Wake Forest, 2 games against Washington State, Sam Houston, and Tulsa. Depending on how crazy it gets, let's just say they lose to Oregon and they win out. They're definitely in the playoff, in my opinion. And let's say they go 10-2. You have a close game against Oregon, and Oregon's 12-0 at the end of the year. It's at Oregon this season as well. I think there could be a case to be made for them to be in there at 10-2 with a lot of help. I mean, you're talking about a lot of help.
I guess my one pushback would be like, okay, what if you get a Memphis or a Tulane or a USF, and I don't know what the quality of what they're projected to look like this year, but if you get one of those guys who are 10-2 and they get an ACC championship win when there is no Pac-12 championship game, what does that do? So I think you're totally right. It's possible. Like if they go and just put together a 10-11 win season, like sure, you're in the conversation if you're at the 10-11 win mark. But could you get passed by another group of 6 team that has a conference championship game, and that sort of tips it for the committee? Certainly possible. I did remember my point from the last discussion we were at. So next week we're going to be tiering both football and basketball. Homework assignment for our regular viewers, and if you're first time and want to tune in next week for the tiers, please go and tier these conferences yourself. We want to have some input, what you guys think, what we think, and next week's show, we want you guys dropping what your tiers are in the comments as well. So it's a little back and forth, and we can have a little bit of open discourse. So something to think about for next week's episode to the listening audience.
Back to the Pac-12 championship, Dylan. Isn't there a clause in the Pac-12 that you can add a 13th game if it's outside the United States or something like that? Or what's that weird thing, the weird rule?
Yeah, I just don't think it can happen, but it's.
So can you clarify what that is?
The tooth fairy too.
Working on the Pac-12's international brand. I love it.
There's a dollar under my
Mexico
pillow.
City. Yeah.
There's a dollar under my pillow. It's gotta be true.
I don't see that happening unless it's Hawaii. I mean, last year everybody was like, "Oh, well, let's play South Carolina because South Carolina's 9-3 and they need."
So what's the actual rule?
No, what I think what sounds like what that leads the door open to is like a Notre Dame in what do they play in Ireland or Scotland or wherever the hell they play in week 0, like a week 0 abroad game that sits, and the appealing part of that is from a broadcaster's perspective is you have this week where there are no good games on, and you go do a whole deal where you're out in some country, different country. It's sort of a big, NFL does it, the international games, week 0.
That's an NCAA thing.
I don't know if it's an NCAA thing necessarily, but I think what it is leaving the door open to having that discussion with the broadcaster. If CBS says, hey, we have this time slot in week 0 that we can capitalize on, creating a bigger matchup. Let's get a Pac-12 opponent and pit them again. And maybe it's Pac-12 versus Pac-12 or Pac-12 versus someone else, and go host a game internationally and take advantage of this window where there are no good games on. Maybe that's what they're trying to sort of leave the door open for. But again, I agree with you both. It seems implausible within the first 5 years, from now to 2031, at which point the GOR is over, and then you get a new one. But yeah, feels implausible.
Let me get through the last bullet point here, and then Dylan has some news on the basketball side for Washington State. So this is the last little snippet that we got from the grant of rights that was released. So a school can ask to withdraw just its football and or basketball programs while remaining in the Pac-12 for the rest of its sports, but would lose its board of director vote after that request, which must be approved by the remaining schools. Next up, it's the Pac-12 liabilities for back pay as part of the House versus NCAA settlement were redacted. Schools owe that back pay for the next 10 years, with the money being taken from their annual NCAA distribution check. And then finally, the Pac-12 will sponsor 8 men's sports and 11 women's sports. In this new deal. So takeaways from these.
Yeah. My takeaway is on a somber note of the sponsored sports from the Pac-12. 2 long storied sports, I would say, in the conference history: men's soccer and men's rowing, no longer a part of the conference, which is tremendously sad. I know those were not sports that WSU had, but there was a tremendous amount of success in those sports in the conference. And, those were some of the sports that we got to call ourselves the reason we got to call ourselves the Conference of Champions, and no longer going to be a part of the Pac-12's or history, or they still will be a part of the history, but no longer will be a part of our future, which is disappointing from sort of a moral standpoint. Love to see those things, but as far as a dollars and cents thing, it totally makes sense. I don't know how many of these schools actually had programs to compete in those sports.
And just the thought on the last one, like there's Title IX to make women's sports equal with men's sports, right?
Sure.
Now there's 11 women's sports, there's 8 men's sports. So they're like, okay, we're willing to get rid of these 3 men's sports because football is so big. We have to put so much, and
I think
that
was a similar split in the old Pac-12 as well. I believe there were more women's sanctioned sports than there were men's sports. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if I feel like I'm remembering that as being the case. So I think that's not totally out of the norm.
And then what do you think about, okay, so the whole football or basketball being able to be taken out? I mean, of course, it makes sense that they lose their board of director vote. How realistic is it that a university would back out just one sport?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's for the possibility of like a Memphis joining or someone that's sort of farther away. Maybe Texas State is like, does it for 5 years, and then at the end of 2031, I have no idea. Trying to think of scenarios where that makes sense. I certainly don't think anyone from the Mountain West coming over to the Pac-12 is thinking about something like that, where it's like we're going to go play basketball in the Mountain West or vice versa or anything like that. I feel like that's probably left in there for a school that is more east and is considering travel and maybe joined as an all-member sports, but says, after several years is like, we'd rather just be a football only, maybe. I don't know.
And then with the rumors of Memphis potentially still listening and their exit fee being $25 million, there's the information that they might join as a football only in the Pac-12, but the exit fee would be the same no matter if they did just football or all sports. Is that right? And then why would if they're going to join for just football, why wouldn't they just bring all of their sports as well? That just doesn't make sense to me why they would only do one sport.
Yeah, I think maybe because they would be potentially looking at basketball in the Big East and then football in the Pac-12 and try and capitalize on the media rights from the Big East payout, and then as well try and get in on the football distribution for the Pac-12. That would be my guess. But again, and then maybe
then it's also like, where did the rest of the sports go?
Maybe the Olympic sports stay in the ACC. I don't know. That would be my guess, and that just seems like so much that's a lot to handle as an.
We've got some fighting in the comments.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, I see that.
Boise isn't a state. No, Boise's a state of mind. Cult mind. The cult of winning and success. There's that delusional Idaho cult talking. I'm in California. I didn't ask.
Well, I just don't understand. I do not understand the.
Don't tell me what kind of data I have.
That's Twitter for you right there.
What is the hate on Boise State football? Like, I don't get it. Like, they've been really good. Like, what I
honestly, I think WSU fans are probably a little
insecure.
Yeah.
A little insecure, perhaps. I mean, hey. If there's anyone,
there he is.
Hey, there we go. There we go. Bobcats, longtime listeners, always have been at those Texas State Bobcats.
Speaking of the Boise State thing, it's like back in the day in high school when Oregon started going to the Rose Bowls. I smell roses, like all that stuff, and just everyone wearing their Ducks jerseys. But it's the same thing with Boise State. Like I feel like there was just the people jumping on the Boise bandwagon when they got to that wave. So now it's like people are skewed
on that
against U of O, against Boise.
It's been almost 20 years now, guys. Like we're at like a Gonzaga. We're like in maybe not the height that Gonzaga has reached as far as a small school making a national brand, but like we're approaching that territory for Boise State as the little engine that freaking could. Like I just don't understand the hate. Like, you got to call a spade at some point and tip your cap. And that's certainly how I feel about Boise State. I do not feel that Boise State's success somehow implies Washington State's failure. Like, they're just close to us and have had success. You know, two separate universities, two separate institutions, guys. Both can be good.
There's your All-State plug, Connor. We got to get that All-State.
The All-State ad has to happen.
I'm just going to call the All-State general line like, hey, I'm just looking for 1% of the deal that you strike with Pac-12. That's all it is. I'll make the connection.
I feel like I earned that point. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then, Dylan, what's the breaking WSU basketball news that you want to share?
Yeah, quick thing here. Last from Aztec Mike. All anyone is talking about is Gonzaga basketball. SDSU can and have beaten them before. SDSU went to the Final Four in 2023. Gonzaga's last Final Four, I believe that's when they hit the half quarter on UCLA. Or no, I don't know. They're so successful that we get lost in Gonzaga.
Come on, Mike. You're doing the same thing that Washington State is doing to Boise State, but on the basketball side. It's this inferiority complex. San Diego State is a great program. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You do not need to throw shade at Gonzaga.
They're the second flag bearer for basketball in this conference. It's Gonzaga and SDSU holding up the basketball here. We're aware of that. We understand
it is not either or. It can be both. We can support our Pac-12 brethren.
But speaking of the new news, this just dropped 20 minutes ago while we're online live here. And this is the best kept secret under Riley, apparently. A source told us that about a month ago, hey, we've got one more big-time international player coming. We could not get the name out of him. He was tied to secrecy. What's funny is essentially the source was like, you come up with a name, you tell me, I'll let you know if it's right or not. So when this name came across, immediately I go to Google. As I'm typing in his name to Google, it says, you visited this page 3.5 weeks ago. So I literally saw it and didn't say anything. It was driving me crazy. But fresh, thank you, Pedro Garcia Rosado. This guy is doing miracle work at WSU with the international flavor that's coming into this school. Big time 6'4" Wheatfield Rubio coming into WSU. Adria Rodriguez currently playing. He played 2 years in the second division in Spain. Great thing about him, yeah, he played 2 years professionally. He is still considered a true freshman here at Washington State. This is going to be a big time ad.
So he's Spanish.
Yes, he is Spanish.
Okay.
He's a Spaniard, and bring him in, baby. Bring him in.
That's awesome. Could be our Ricky Rubio, potentially, possibly.
Wheatfield Rubio, baby.
That's a Cougs on the Couch exclusive right there. Wheatfield Rubio. When they're printing jerseys with a Wheatfield Rubio on that, we will
make a graphic about it.
We will also be collecting a point. We will also be collecting a point on that one. Thank you very much, WSU.
Big time.
That's awesome.
I believe that's now 7 international-born players on the roster and 7 American-born players.
How big is the basketball roster?
Sorry, 15.
How big is it
under the new rules? It's just technically
half the roster is international.
Half the roster is international.
I love it.
It's fantastic. Excited to see what they do. And also for WSU basketball, every 4 years, universities are allowed to travel abroad. And WSU will be traveling abroad for the first time since the Brock Modem days. It's been a while. I believe they traveled to Australia when Brock Modem was. I know that might be a name that we'll talk about soon. So they're going to be going out to Spain and a few other countries. WSU basketball did just post that recently. So let me see if I can pull up the other 2 countries, but I believe it's about an 8-day span. Well, they'll be traveling abroad. And Riley, in the the snippet of the quote he had in the story just essentially said, hey, this is a great opportunity for us to bond, get closer. You have 8 extra additional practices as well, as opposed to a team that is not traveling abroad. So that's fantastic for a team where, it's pretty much a new slate. And that's what we're going to be dealing with in college basketball year in and year out. And
so is that just a preseason basically?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I miss where they're traveling to?
London, Malaga, and Barcelona.
Spain?
So
okay. So sounds like England and Spain will be where they're going. That's awesome.
You got to think maybe Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan may have facilitated some.
You may have think Ethan one final assist from Ethan as he leaves. Come out and check out Big Ben. What sucks is my girlfriend and I are going to be in Portugal like 3 days before they're in Barcelona. So it's not going to work out, but that would have been awesome.
Got to figure out a Euro. What's the train thing they got over in Europe? Get over there somehow. Planes, trains, and automobiles are over to Barcelona and catch a WSU game in Barcelona.
That would be pretty fire. So
how many people have been able to say that? Yeah.
Yeah. So exciting news with WSU basketball. Again, they're going to need those 8 additional practices. You got a lot of new players trying to figure out the system, and excited to see what David Riley has on tap.
Okay. So I don't know if I should be doing this live on air, but you said that Brock Modem is a name that we could possibly be bringing up. Does that mean next week we're going to be picking our WSU alumni team? Are we committing ourselves to this? And we're having the discussion now. We're live on air. So
with the basketball tiers, we will add that. I think football is a little bit too long to do that, but
for sure, I football would be way too long. But so the reason we're doing this is because there's the basketball tournament. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it is a tournament that essentially you enter a team and you play for $1 million. Most of the teams that enter this tournament are college alumni teams. So we got to thinking.
Quick side note, like the Louisville team, just to give you names like Russ Smith, Montrezl Harrell. I mean, big time names.
Big names, but guys who are not playing professionally anymore. So that is kind of the criteria of alumni from the university, but are not playing professionally. And
how long until Klay Thompson is an option?
Still playing professionally, as far as we know. And still within an age that you can lace them up and get on a basketball court. So another bit of homework. We're going to be doing it for WSU. We're not going to be going through the entire conference picking the alumni teams for each school. However, Aztec Mike, I want your SDSU alumni team. Keep in mind, remember the rules. Cannot be playing professionally. Has to be a reasonable age to be competitive on a basketball court. So if you're a Utah State fan, if you are, certainly we want to hear from Gonzaga fans, all those Boise State, Oregon State fans, and those new Texas State fans, everyone, we want to hear from you. Who is your alumni team? And I think just to keep it tight, we're going to go for like an 8-man rotation, probably around there, like 5 starters, 1 through 5, and then 3 guys off the bench, something around there. That's what we're kind of looking at for next week. So your homework assignments, tiers, both football and basketball of the conference teams, and then your alumni team from your university. That is your homework assignment for next week.
And the last bit of news on basketball before we get out of here, I had a story go out yesterday on Isaac Jones. And about a month ago, caught up with Isaac Jones, 15-minute interview. Check out Couch GM YouTube. Story is also on cougfan.com. And essentially, there was a team option that Sacramento had for Isaac Jones. That date was, I believe, June 27th or June 28th. They did pick up that team option on Isaac. That means he has $1.9 million guaranteed for a undrafted.
Count it, Isaac.
Count it, baby. For an undrafted player, you got Jalen Wells, Cedric Howard together in Memphis, Isaac Jones with an opportunity this year to become possibly a rotational piece for the Kings. And the reason why the Kings love him so much is his ability to switch on the ball. He can guard the point guard. He can guard your center. He's 6'8", but he has a 7'3" wingspan. The main things that Kings brass have told him to work on this offseason, the corner three, catch and shoot three. Can he turn into a legitimate, not even just your 3-and-D guy, but your all D guy that can play, that can shoot the deep ball as well. So exciting for Isaac Jones, and, shout out to him, as well as, the Idaho fans that had him for a year, as well as, another guy that is going from, essentially same thing as Jalen Wells and Cedric Coward. Jalen Wells, D2 at Sonoma State, Cedric Coward, D3 to Eastern, to WSU, to the NBA draft, and then Isaac Jones. Similar, going the JC route to Idaho to WSU. So fantastic to see, and good to see the man's getting some guaranteed money, because, all that hard work pays off, and it couldn't happen to a better person and player.
Totally. Isaac Jones with a corner 3 ball in his game. I don't think he can guard 1 through 5, but like if he could guard like 2 through 4, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we'll take off the point guard.
Yeah. I don't think he's 1 through 5, but 2 through 4 would be pretty solid with a corner 3 in his game. That would be pretty awesome from Isaac Jones if that was a thing.
We got any weekend plans, Jackson, Connor? You guys got anything exciting for the weekend going on?
Yeah, so I'm going Dodgers versus Astros. We'll be hitting that up on Saturday. And then
the most hated teams in the country.
Yeah,
right? Just a hate fest. Just a hate fest for me. So that'll be fun. And then I don't actually have plans for the 4th specifically, but probably a beach day for me.
Beach day? What about you, Connor?
Yeah.
I'm getting out for a round of golf with my dad Saturday. Gonna hang low, try to not get in all the crowds and all that stuff on Friday. But yeah, golfing on Saturday, so that it'll be a good time. The weather is nice up here in the PNW, so can't complain.
Yeah, I'll be flying out to Denver, bringing the walk-ons out to a NABA tournament. So we're gonna go out to Denver and play 3 local teams. There's 3 California teams coming out: San Jose team, LA team, and us. And this team that we're faced up, first matchup, Night Train. I've looked as far as you can go with the tournament results to 2016. They have won this tournament every year for the last 9 years. So it should be a good time. So excited to get out there.
Set the tempo.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Gonna hit a Rockies game too. Apparently that they actually just hand you the ticket and they say, hey, just get in there, buy some beer, buy some hot dogs.
You should see what it'll take to be able to rent a Rockies player for a game.
It's like that. It's like that Angels meme, but now it's the Rockies. It's like somebody broke into my car and left 2 Rockies tickets.
Yeah.
So excited to get out there, and next week we've got some big shows on deck, and I believe now after this Saturday we will have 8 more Saturdays without college football.
Yeah. And we certainly hope that all of the Cougs on the Couch listeners are having a great 4th of July weekend. We are so appreciative of your guys' support. The growth of this podcast has been huge, and we're really excited about it. We're thinking about new things all the time, and we would like to offer a thank you to you guys for tuning in. We really hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing here, because, more to come from us.
Hey, best way to support us, get your cougfan.com subscription.
Yes. And like, rate, and subscribe.
Yep. Like, rate, subscribe, and also get that subscription. It's 40% off right now.
You know your homework for next week. Happy 4th of July. We'll see you next week. Thank you all. Go Cougs.
Option. Pitch. Didn't get it. They stuffed him.